I'm gonna try and irritated more than I have to, so I'll try and talk for a little. I am going to make chili crab today, and I'm using mud crab, which in Australia is kind of like the premium crab for chili, making chili crab. This is what it looks like. Usually, you can expect to spend upwards of $60 a kilo for this. I'm sure I bought this cheap at some point. It's been sitting in my freezer, so I thought, why not? Let's do this. And before I go on any further, if first of all, if you have any problems with the audio, with anything else, let me know, and I will try and sort it out. Second of all, just hang on. I just remembered something. Where are we? Okay. Let's do this. Hopefully that this works. Am I live? Am I live? Come on, let me tell them all. Okay, cool, gotcha. Okay, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jackie M. You can find me at jackiem.live for Twitch. If you're watching from anywhere else at all, go to jackiem.live. That will take you to my Twitch page, and it will have my schedule, my broadcast schedule, and a bunch of other stuff about me as well. If you're after my recipes, which get posted a couple of days after my broadcast, you can find them at jackiem.com.au. Okay, and before I go any further, quick shout out to Lenovo Australia for supplying me with the laptop I use for my broadcast. I'm using a Lenovo IdeaPad Y700, which is a gaming laptop, which I'm sure a lot of you gamers will be familiar with. And also to Rode microphones, an Brilliant Australian company that supply me with the microphones I use for my broadcast. Okay, yeah, if you've got any questions at all, hop onto the chat, hit me up, and I will try my best to answer them. Like I said, I'm trying to preserve my voice a little bit, so I'm going to be a little bit less talkative than usual, which I'm sure some of you will appreciate. And also, yeah, I'm going to speed this up a little bit as well because the weather is not looking that great outside, and also because of my voice, right? The more I stay online, the worse my voice gets. Okay, chili crab. This particular recipe, again, like my previous recipe, is actually my mom's recipe. I did used to sell chili crab in my restaurant. Those of you who don't know me, I used to own a Malaysian restaurant. I'm Malaysian born, now based in Sydney, Australia. Used to own a restaurant in Sydney, which I closed a few years ago to look after my Down syndrome son, who is now 4.5, and thankfully not here today because he's a bit of a train wreck. He tries to make my broadcast into train wrecks. And yeah, so I used to sell chili crab in my restaurant, and but this particular version I'm making is going to be more, hopefully, like the version that my stepmom makes, okay, which is more Chinese. I mentioned in my previous broadcast, those of you not familiar with Malaysia, Malaysia is essentially a country of immigrants, but of 3 predominant ethnic races, which are the Malays, the Chinese, and the Indians, okay? And I made my Nasi lemak the other day. I mentioned that one curious feature of Malaysian food, even though Malaysia, I like to say Malaysia's cuisine is kind of like the original fusion cuisine because it picks up all the cooking styles and ingredients and features of all these different immigrant groups and then produces something fairly unique in instances like nasi lemak and laksa and that sort of stuff. But within scope, right, within these dishes, you will find if you ate nasi lemak at a stall sold by Chinese people, it will taste a little bit different to the nasi lemak sold by Malays and also nasi lemak sold by the Indians. Okay, they all put their own unique slant to it, and basically it's influenced by their own predominant cultural background and spices and all that, right? So when I was doing this in my restaurant, because I tried to basically, I guess, balance things out a little bit in terms of the Sydney Malaysian food scene. Back in my day, a lot of the Malaysian food and a lot of Malaysian restaurants opened here in Sydney, Australia, were actually opened by Chinese Malaysians. Okay, I am actually a Chinese Malaysian, but I thought I might kind of like kind of even things out a little bit by making my dishes more Malay influenced. So when I did my chili crab, it was more of a sambal kind of chili crab. So it had things like belacan, which is a shrimp paste, Malay shrimp paste in it. Okay. Whereas my mom's Chinese version, which is more similar to Singapore chili crab, which is why I call it Singapore chili crab. Singaporeans are going to hop on and kill me. Singapore chili crab is more has more Chinese, I guess, influence in it because Singapore is very predominantly Chinese, whereas Malaysia has more Malays than Chinese people. Okay, so these are the crabs. I've only got basically it looks like two halves of the one crab. It's a giant one. So that's going to be plenty. I actually didn't want to cook up the whole lot. I actually have more in my freezer. But if you can see, let me just hold it up for you. Look at the size of this claw, okay? It's, okay, compared to the palm of my hand. So it is very, very large. It's hard to tell. Let's hold it up to my face. Cool. Okay, there you go. So that's the crabs. And first off, this has already been cut in half, right? I'll talk a little bit about this crab in a little bit, but I want to just kind of crack the claw open a little bit, okay? So this is going to get messy. It's one of the reasons why I don't generally like doing this. And this is actually my living room, by the way, guys. I don't generally like to do a lot of messy stuff here. Okay, so you can see it's cracked open. Ooh, okay. There you go, it's my chili crab, it's cracked open. I'm gonna do the next one. And like I said, this broadcast gets shared on some of my other platforms, but if you're watching this on Facebook or you're watching this on YouTube, to get the best out of your viewing experience, watch me and follow me at Twitch, okay, which the short URL, which is just www.jackiem.live, okay. There you go. So I've basically just cracked the claws open, and I'm going to move this cutting board and just give it a rinse because I don't want it to dribble all over. I'm working over here. Give me 2 seconds while I get this out of the way. Okay, and I'm just going to wipe this down a little bit. You can't, that's just as well you can't see my work area because, yeah, crab juice. Okay. On fresh gloves. Okay, so what I want to first do is I've got some oil here down. No, the oil is actually it's actually previously used oil. Okay, so it's not fish oil, but personal consumption and all that. Some people have a hang up about reusing oil, but that's how I do it. That's how I do it. Okay, so I'm just heating up this oil here. It was warm before, so it won't take long at all. But what I want to do with the crab next is basically I'm going to flash fry it, okay? And to do that, I'm going to actually first dip it in some egg wash, and then I'm going to dip it in some tapioca flour, okay? So the egg wash basically helps to coat it, and tapioca flour, and then once it's coated, the tapioca flour will help absorb the moisture as well. So when I do any kind of flash frying, that's always the sequence I do it in. Okay, I don't do the flour first and then the egg. I do the egg first, then the flour. And with the flour, I use tapioca flour because I've been using it for years and years. But there are other types of flours that share the same characteristics, right? And we're talking about like potato flour, potato starch, tapioca starch, potato starch, corn starch, right? Corn starch is a very it's more of a Western thing, but it's more readily available. So if you can't get tapioca starch at your supermarket, get corn starch. I generally find corn starch has less starchiness in it, and also it loses its. I just put this on the crab before I put the egg in. Doesn't matter. I'll put it on again afterwards. But cornstarch loses its starchiness. If you're making a dish with a starchy sauce, which we're kind of doing with this, right? You'll find that if you stick your leftovers in your fridge and reheat it the next day, it will no longer be starchy. Egg. Okay. So let's crack an egg in this. So just coating it. There's quite a lot of liquid in the cloves, right? So you just want to drench it out of it. This is going to spit when you fry it, so make sure, and it's going to bubble up as well. So make sure you don't have too much oil in your deep fryer. This is my deep fry. A lot of Westerners think you need a deep fryer to do your deep frying in, but you'll find that I do my deep frying in a wok filled with oil, okay? The only caveat is, if you're doing this with thin wok, this is a thick wok, so it doesn't matter so much. If you were using a thin wok, you would want to line the base of the wok with something that's not going to burn, right? And the reason for it is with a thin wok, the heat transfer is going to basically, anything that you put in the oil, it sinks to the bottom, it's going to scorch it, okay? I have it here, I'm just trying to see if I can find it for you guys. There you go, okay. So this is what I'm talking about. If you're deep frying, you could even put it in here, but generally this is the kind of bamboo mat, right, that you can buy at Asian grocery stores, some of them anyway, certainly here in Australia. They cost $1 or $2 or something like that, and you slide it into your wok, and then you put the oil on top, right? So anything that you're cooking, when it touches this, it won't actually scorch. So if you're deep frying spring rolls or curry puffs or whatever, that helps to buffer the heat for you. Okay, so I'll crack the egg in here, and I'm just going to drench some flour in. People always talk about seasoning whatever it is you're deep frying. I never bother, because of the nature of the kind of dishes I cook. The flavor to me comes from the sauce that ultimately it's cooked in. So I never bother with seasoning it or leaving it for a while or whatever. Okay, but that's just me. Okay, so ready. This will be hot enough. So let's let down a little. It feels really hot. Okay. Then the next one. Turn the tap up. You see how big the crabs are? That's like they're taking up the entire surface area of my wok. And because the oil doesn't quite cover it, I'm going to have to flip them over at some point, right? So put this aside. Thank you. USA, good to have you. Yeah, we did it and say the chili, that's right. Yeah, cool, right. I only know, I think I give my perspective as far as Asian cooking is heavily influenced from having spent 30, this is my 33rd year here in Australia, well, 33rd year outside of Malaysia anyway. But there are things that I've picked up over the years of cooking Malaysian, Southeast Asian food and selling it to Westerners and also teaching Westerners how to cook, right? That to Asians, it's second nature, but to Westerners, you kind of have to tell them, look, you are allowed to do this and that and whatever. Okay. So put this away. Now, as far as ingredients for this sauce, right, we're gonna have, my mom puts a lot of garlic in hers. So I've got the garlic here. There's my word. Okay, so that's just onion, garlic, chili. Some ginger. Okay, the ginger. I just want a few slices of ginger in there, okay? Okay, I'm going to get rid of this oil. So that's the crab. It doesn't have to be cooked all the way through because I'm just simmer it in the sauce afterwards. Okay. So this is the main thing that we're going to do. Hopefully I won't have to change out the gas bottle. We'll see how we go. And this is the pureed onion slash garlic slash chili. Okay. I'm using fresh chilies because I had some. You can use dried chilies if you want as well, okay? And with dried chilies, you just need to actually, people always say soak it in hot water, but to me, you know, if you're using a pretty average blender or food processor, it doesn't blend it quite smooth enough unless you actually not just soak the chilies, the dried chilies beforehand, but actually brought them to a simmer in a wok or in a saucepan. Okay, so I'm just frying this just to reduce the liquid in it a bit before I toss in some oil. And then these are the ginger slices I'm adding to this. Okay. Just few onion skins by discarding the whole first. Okay, so this is quite. I think I need to switch out the gas bottles of give me a second. Okay. It's a little bit left, but it just feels a bit low. I struggle with this gas bottle, not the gas bottle, this gas stove. It always seems to me like it doesn't quite bring out a strong enough flame. Okay, so frying this, I'm going to add some oil to this. Yeah, about reusing oil. I always get it, not arguments, but Westerners, Europeans in particular, are very hardcore in you know in how pure their food should be. So I don't want to get into big arguments with them, but they'll show me whatever. They'll claim that we're using oil. Apparently, oil creates cholesterol or whatever it is, and I'll send them like scientific research or whatever. So it's actually okay to reuse oil, but you'll never get anywhere. But bottom line is, my way of cooking is, well, my whole food thing, I actually used to be an IT consultant, but my whole food journey thing is instigated by my desire to recreate the food and especially the street food of my childhood, okay? It's not to kind of like, within reason, it's not to also try and lose weight and try to avoid cancer causing whatever and that sort of stuff, okay? That's not my main reason, okay? That's true. So frying this up. Giveaways, okay? I have some giveaways, but I'll show you what they are. I'll talk about it later on. So hang around. I want more oil in this. And if I put more chili, it'll obviously be more instantly red, right? But what I'm going to add, it's going to sound a little bit strange to some people, but I'm going to add some ketchup or tomato sauce. And people associate ketchup with Western cooking or Western diets because you use ketchup with your fries and whatever. But you'd be surprised, there are some recipes in Malaysian cooking that actually use ketchup. Okay, and this is one of them. Singaporean recipes. Singapore, for those of you who don't know, Singapore and Malaysia used to be the one country. They split up about 50 years ago, but basically the population, you know, basically we share the same cuisine, the same ethnic groups and that sort of stuff, very similar anyway. So a lot of people in Singapore will have relatives in Malaysia and vice versa. But like I said, Singapore has more Chinese people there versus Malaysia. Malaysia has about 35% or so Chinese, and about 10 or 15% Indian from southern India, and the rest are Malays, okay? Okay, ketchup. So this is your good old regular tomato sauce. Again, everything I use tends to be industrial size because, like I said, I run a business. Or I've run, basically, I sell food commercially still. Okay. Want to fry this and clean up the flavor and make sure the oil separates before you go on to the other stuff. But as far as flavoring, there's a bit of sugar that goes into this. Chili crab is kind of like almost like a sweet and sour dish. Okay, it's not outright sour, but it has a hint of sourness to balance out the flavor. And of course, you know me, I'm to use my good old chicken salad seasoning. How do you know when the chili is done? Usually, how do I know when the chili is done? Usually, we Asians say you fry it till the oil separates. For this particular dish, when the oil separates, which is about to do, okay, I didn't put a lot of oil, so it's hard to tell. But you can tell when it starts to kind of like when you can actually see the oil sheen, okay? Whereas originally when I fried it, the oil is all mixed in with it. With most Malaysian curries, I would suggest, depending on what you're doing, to be honest, most Malaysian curries, I would suggest you fry this spice mixture, right, until the onion is actually brown, okay? I'm gonna stop talking for a while. We've had a crazy amount of rain in the last week and a half. So if you're one of those people who've ordered my cookbook, which go to Jackie Live, you'll have a link to my cookbook. One of those people who ordered my cookbook, I haven't sent any out this week because of the weather. But I will try and make it to the post office today, otherwise Monday. Okay, so apologies for the delay. So this is good to go. I'm going to add some water to this. I've burnt it a little bit. You can see a couple of burnt bits in there. And I'm going to put the crab back in there to simmer. So the seasoning is quite simple. Sugar for the sweetness. You can use rock sugar if you're Chinese. Like I said, if this were Malay style, which is what I used to sell at my restaurant, it would have shrimp paste in it. Okay, the Chinese can live without shrimp paste. So a lot of the Malay, even the Malay dishes that my mom cooks, you know, like some of the curries and whatever, she doesn't put shrimp paste in it. Okay. And I'm just going to cover this so that we can cook a little bit faster. Now, there are some recipes that actually use vinegar for the sourness. I'm going to use just some lemon juice, not even fresh lemon juice out of a bottle, which is lemon juice is one of those things that, you know, it's obviously better fresh, but I go through so little lemon because a lot of my recipes, if you follow me, you know, the sourness comes from tamarind, which you would have seen in my last broadcast on Nasi lemak. I don't use a lot of lemons, and lemons can be expensive if you keep buying them. So and they go off pretty fast. Okay, you know. So I buy a bottle of this, so this is handy. Like I said, like back in the day, I think I remember my mom using vinegar for the sourness. So there are lots of ways to achieve the final outcome you want, right? lots of ways to skin a cat. Chicken powder, this is just for the seasoning. You can leave it out if you want. My mom actually puts some soya sauce, so this provides the saltiness in it. To me, I usually replace, in a lot of my recipes, I replace salt with chicken powder because to me it gives a bit more body, a bit more of a, less of a sharp saltiness. But like I said, my mom, when she makes this, she would put some soya sauce in it, okay? So to the Westerner, you use salt for saltiness. To the Chinese, we use soya sauce in a lot of cases. Okay, there's just some white sugar. Like I said, you can use rock sugar if you want, but white sugar has been in the consciousness of even Asian cooks for long enough that we don't kind of like try and nuance it too much. Okay. I'm going to add a bit more sauce to this, a bit more water to this, because I'm doing it my mom's style, right? Because when I'm doing it my style in my restaurant, this is enough sauce for me. It's quite spicy because of the chili. And I am actually going to add a dash of soya sauce because I think it does need that sharpness, the salty sharpness to it. You can, of course, put fish sauce instead of soya sauce, right? When I use soya sauce for flavoring, I have to be very restrained in how much I use it, because I find that the brands of soya sauce here in Australia that I've been able to get tend to be quite strong flavored, so that it can change the flavor of your dish so that it sounds overwhelmingly soya saucy, if you know what I mean. I'm going to add a bit more water to this. Like I said, if I were doing this in my restaurant, I wouldn't add any more water to it, okay? But I'm doing this my mom's style, which basically, when I'm doing it in my restaurant, I would have basically once the crab were cooked, I would turn off the heat and then I'll stir in the egg, okay, to create this slippery egg sauce for the crab. But the Chinese style tends to have more sauce in it, and to keep to create that thick consistency with and thicken the sauce with a bit of tapioca flour, okay? Now with these crab, right, the Chinese usually like to buy them live, okay? So live, they can cost upwards of $60 a kilo here in Australia, usually a lot more than that. The reason why I buy the crab is because I'm not so hardcore help at getting them live. Once they die, if there's for whatever reason they die in the tank, right, at the Chinese fish shop, seafood shop, they basically cut it open and then sell it for half price or less. And that's what I usually up. To get to the fish shop early in the morning, that's when they would have basically gone through their crab stockpile, and the ones that have died or something like that, they would chop up and sell them cheap, and I buy them for my cooking, okay? Obviously not perfect, but it's good enough for me. Okay, so I'll put a bit more water in here. How do you do? Okay, so I've got some water here. I'm just going to add some tapioca starch to this. Okay, just trying it in there, and I just want to stir it around to make sure it's well dissolved. And you'll find if you do this too far ahead of time, that the tapioca starch will actually settle, so you'll end up with a layer of water and a layer of starch. So you need to stir it again. Okay. I'm going to add the starch in. see it'll start thickening up. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to take the crab out. So let me grab a bowl. Probably could have used less starch because it's quite starchy. Okay, so that's that there. Turn it off the heat. Okay, I want to let it settle a bit. I don't want the egg to overcook. Now I'm going to crack the egg in it. And now I'm going to mix it. Okay, you see the salt here? Okay, I'm going to pour it over the crab. So there you go. Okay, so the Chinese version does look like a little bit like less intensely red when I do it for my restaurant, and I've done it on television before as well, which is on my YouTube channel. One of my previous videos is actually a segment from a TV show that I present on, and that particular version is the version that I usually do at my restaurant, which is a darker, more intense color. This one is a lighter color because of the tapioca starch and the extra sauce. Okay. So I'm sorry about my condition, about my voice, about my sniffly nose. So crabs are either served as a treat or during special occasions. I think they cost the same in our market. They're a bit pricey. Yeah, I know, right? It's funny because I went on a cruise fairly recently to the Pacific Islands where they, have a lot of shellfish and they cook lobster on the beach and all that. And you think, oh wow, with this abundance of shellfish and all that, everything's going to be super cheap. No, actually more expensive than what we were paying on the boat. So I went back to the boat to eat my lobster. I couldn't afford it on the beach. But yeah, I think unfortunately this sort of stuff is kind of like very expensive. My sister came back from China because she's based in China as an expatriate teacher. She came back from China and we went to a Chinese restaurant in Chinatown here. And she was craving crab, right? This sort of crab, but with noodles, the crab with ginger and shallot with noodles, which I sometimes make here as well. And guess how much it cost? Australian dollars. It cost over $500. For a plate of noodles and crab. I nearly died. Anyway, well, there you go, guys. Quick and simple crab, chili crab. Recipe will be up over on jackiem.com.au in a couple of days. I know I'm a little bit behind us because I've got a big event coming up this weekend. So I haven't even actually done my Nasi lemak recipe from my previous broadcast, but I will do that. Giveaways, okay. I've got these here from the distributor. These are from Malaysia, okay. You can see that. Instant spicy tamarind paste and Penang Asam Laksa paste. Okay, I'm going to give away 2 sets of these. Basically one pack of each of the spicy tamarind paste, which is basically an instant paste. You cook it with fish, and there you go. That's your Malaysian dinner sorted for the night. And this is a Penang Asam Laksa paste. I think my first broadcast on Twitch was actually on Penang Asam Laksa. So this is basically the simplified, the instant version of it. I'm going to ship out 2 lots of these, one for an overseas follower and one for a local one. So keep watching, and I'm going to get my assistant to keep watching and post a question for me during one of these broadcasts, which I will answer in the recipe post that the company my broadcast over the next week, and I'll get my assistant to pick the best question. Okay, it doesn't have to be food related; it can be just something about me or whatever, as long as it's not rude. Okay, but I will send one pack of each of these to one lucky winner overseas, and one pack of each of these to someone in Australia. Okay, thank you guys. Good to have you again, and I will see you. My next broadcast is Monday at 12:30, and hopefully by next week, Fridays will be meat-free Fridays. We'll be doing vegan, vegetarian dishes, and I hope to have you join me then. And don't forget to spread the word. JackieM.live. Catch me on my and look out for my schedule and all that. And I will see you next time. Thanks. Ciao. Hang on, there's a question. Hang on. Question by music. Okay, no worries. Okay, anything I missed during the broadcast, I will answer in my next one and in my blog. But yeah, hit me up with a question between now and next week, and I will answer them, and I'll get my assistant to pick up the best question, and I'll get it sent out to you guys. Ciao.